on the family, helping families thrive.
It's time for Nico Kleynhans, exclusively on Breakfast with Friends.
And it's a very warm welcome and thank you for choosing CCFM this morning. We've got our guest in studio. He's a regular feature here and going into the topic of emergency funding and saving lives. Thank you, Nico, for coming through.
Good morning to you and also to listeners. I often challenge listeners to have emergency funding. And the question is, what do you do if late at night you're driving and this taxi comes roaring down the road and hits you and off he goes? And now you're sitting with a situation where you can't find the taxi driver and you have a claim. It's not enough to claim against your insurance, but you've got a 20,000 rand ding in your boot. And you need some money.
Yeah.
And you need to have an emergency fund somewhere. Well, I had a similar case a couple of days ago. It was a Saturday night and I wasn't feeling very well. And all I felt was that if I lay down, I was struggling to breathe. Now, it got to about 11 at night and I was complaining that if I lay down, breathing was difficult. If I sat up, breathing was okay. And my family began to moan at me, said, you can't deal with this, we need to do something. And so I got into the car and drove myself off to the nearest hospital.
Sure.
And I got into the emergency section and I said, I don't know what's wrong with me. I seem to be having difficulties breathing. The nurse took a look at me, took a blood sample, got a very serious look on his face and said, your family need to drive your car home. You're going to stay here the night. And within 5 minutes after that, I was admitted into ICU. By the next morning, Sunday morning at 8 o'clock, I was lying in a theater. And for the first time, I experienced what it's like to have an operation on your heart performed by a computer.
Oh, wow.
So I was conscious, heavily sedated, while a computer inserted 2 stents into my heart. It took about an hour, and after the hour, that was it. The operation was done. But I couldn't go home for another 5 days, while I had to lose something like 10 liters of liquid that had gathered around my heart sac because of the infection that I had that had triggered everything. Now, the fortunate thing for me is I have a very, very good medical aid. And so the 150,000 rand bill that will come from that operation will be met in full by my medical aid. But the 40,000 rand extra costs that are going to come, that are not going to be met by the medical aid, are met by my emergency fund. And so this is why I say to listeners, you need to have some kind of emergency fund. Because if you're hoping that in an emergency your credit card is going to be big enough to meet those bills, it may be, but you're still going to have to pay that money back. And if you're hoping that you're going to have enough spare cash running around in your spare pocket, you're going to be lucky. And if you're hoping that your relatives are going to be able to scrape money together, well, and if you're hoping that the state is going to provide you with what you need in due care, then I'm not sure what planet you're living on, because I'm promising you those kind of facilities are not available in state hospitals. So folks, you do need to be aware of the fact that when I say we need to have emergency money available, it's not only for emergencies around healthcare, it's not only for emergencies because that lunatic taxi driver hit you and ran away. It may be because something else has happened and you suddenly need some kind of cash. And if you don't have it, you're putting yourself in a very serious situation. You may be broken down somewhere, You may have been on your way back from holiday and now you're stuck in the middle of Pofheider Sonderwaterfontein and you don't have the money to get to the next stage because 3 of your tires blew and you didn't realize that kind of thing can happen. So folks, make sure you've got some kind of spare funds at all times so that whatever it is, you're able to cope, you're able to get to the end of your holiday, you're able to get to the end of your emergency without having to struggle unnecessarily. But if you do that, life becomes so much easier and so much more pleasure. Have a good day.
Thank you, Nico. Thank you so much. And you can connect with Nico Kleynhans by going to questions, or sending an email, I should say, questions@northwood.co.za. Questions@northwood.co.za.